Hello and welcome back to the Angry Dave podcast. I'm Dave, and my next guest is my mother. Her name's Debbie. We call her Little Deb. Say hello to the world, Deb.
Hello, world.
So, Mom, we met in March of 1976. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. You were born in December of 1956. Is that right?
That's correct.
In Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
And you are the oldest. Well, you grew up the oldest of seven.
Yes.
All right. Talk to me about your first memories, young childhood. What was it like?
For the first 8 years, it was just me and my sister Susan.
Yeah.
So I remember us living in South Philly on 24th and Pierce between Moore and Morris, up in that area. It was just us, my mother, father, and grandmother. She always lived with us.
Right.
All our aunts and uncles and everybody were close. A lot of them lived around the corner from us.
Yeah.
So we'd always be around. So when my mother worked, I had my one Aunt Jeanette who used to watch us all the time with
Right.
her big collie dog that
Yeah.
we would lay on and watch TV.
A lot of good
A
memories.
lot of good memories. Yeah.
So you had your mom's side of the family around? Is that who was around?
Yeah, that's who was around. It was my mom's side of the family. A lot of my grandmother's cousins and all.
Right. And talk to me about your grandmother. She didn't really, her mother died very young. Is that right?
That's right. Her mother died really young, and we called her little grandma. She
Yeah.
was my great great aunt.
Right.
She raised my grandmother.
And she had a bunch of kids as well, right?
She did. She had 12 of her own.
So she was like your Grace, your grandmother was like the 13th of them.
Pretty much, yes.
Was she like in the middle? Was she youngest? Where was she in
I
that?
think she was kind of in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that whole family was like around.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are 8 years old, and your dad, you knew him, Bill, right?
Bill, yes.
And Bill Ash.
Bill Ash. He married my mom when my mom was. What my memories are is I think she was pregnant with my sister Susan when they got married.
Okay, so that was maybe now 58, 59, somewhere around.
Yeah, I was 2.5 years old
Gotcha.
when they got married.
And then, so you said for the first 8 years it was just the two of you, and then what happens?
Then my brother Billy comes along.
Yeah.
I'm 8, and then within between me being 8 and 14, there was 5, as I call them, the 5 little ones.
Right.
We had Billy, and then Ginny came along.
Yeah.
Michelle, John, and Dawn.
Yeah.
And John and Dawn I call them our Irish twins. They're 11 months apart.
Right. And they are 5 and 6 years older than me.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And then Billy, for anybody that doesn't know, Billy is Uncle Headbutts. He was on this podcast very early on. And he is my mother's oldest brother.
Yes.
So talk to me once they came along. I'm sure, once the kids start coming, I'm sure life had to change.
It changed quite a bit, yes. There was a lot of changing diapers, helping out.
Yeah.
Especially summertime. Between me and Susan, we'd split the little ones up and take them to the park and help out as much as we could. So things changed.
So, like you get to I guess you're getting to like grade school and middle school, and you're more like an aunt, like a mom, kind of like part-time mom.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. What was like childhood like friends around the neighborhood? Were you playing? Do you have time to play? What was that like?
Yeah, I did. I mean, we'd go out and play, hang out. Not a whole. I mean, I always stayed close to home.
Yeah.
I didn't go too far. I had friends on the street.
Yeah.
That back then you sat on the steps. You were always outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't. I went to school, came home, helped out. I would, go out with and play with some friends and stuff
For like a couple hours,
for a
maybe.
couple hours. Yeah.
And how were you in school? What was Deb like in school?
Very quiet.
Yeah,
Um, and I went to school. I did what I was supposed to do. I had decent grades. I
yeah,
had to work at it,
yeah.
but I liked school. I think sometimes it was my escape.
Right, because so much chaos at
So
home.
yeah, I mean, you had all the little ones running around at home. So there, people would say, "Oh, why do you want stay home from school?" No, I don't need to stay home. I'm going to school.
I'm perfect. I'm perfectly okay. Good. What was the relationship with your when your mom with between you and your mom once the other kids start coming around?
We were always very close, me and my mom. Me
Yeah,
and my mom, my grandma, we were very close. Hung out with them all the time. Used to take as I got older, take my grandmother to the casino,
yeah,
that type of stuff. My mother to bingo.
right.
And actually, when I was younger, back in the day where kids could go to bingo, I'd go to bingo with my mother and grandmother and sit with them and,
Just hang
I
out.
just hang out. Yeah.
Yeah. How about with your father?
We weren't very close. He was closer to my sister Susan than me.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was the one that was close with him.
yeah,
I mean, we were okay. We favored her over.
right. How about so talk to me like running into your teenage years, going into high school. What was life like at that point?
Well, I was in Catholic school up until what, eighth grade,
Yeah,
and the whole tuition thing came in.
right,
So moved over to public school. Went to I think it was Furnace for 1 year,
right,
and then moved over to Southern South Philly High. That's where I graduated from.
right.
Nothing too much, pretty much same thing, just helping out at home. Had some babysitting jobs that I used to do to make some money, extra money to help out, buy my own clothes and that type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, you want certain type of clothes and all. So,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, my childhood wasn't too, was very go to school, come home, help out, and then eventually go to work.
Right. When did you start working? How old were you?
I was probably 18, 17, 18. Yeah, I was in high school.
So hey, bring the mic closer to you.
Okay.
Just put it right up against you so you don't have to think about it.
All right.
There you go. Much better.
Um,
So it's 17.
it's probably about 17 when I started.
Yeah,
I did the thing at school where you went to school part time and you start working like a
like a work study,
work
huh?
study
Yeah.
type of thing. Yeah.
So when did you meet my father?
I met him when I was in 10th grade. My cousin lived next door
Yeah.
and we were talking. I go, I need a boyfriend. Somebody for you.
Right.
I meet David and
Yeah.
we start dating. And I was actually in 11th grade. I was 16
Yeah.
and he wanted us to get married back then
My father wanted to get married when you were 16,
when I was 16.
and when
Yeah,
he was like, what, maybe 17?
17.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds right.
I said something to my mother,
Yeah.
brought her to tears,
Yeah.
and probably one of the few times that she actually gave advice.
Right. And what
She
did she?
said, please wait till you graduate.
Right. So talk to me about your mother had you when she was what, 17?
17,
Right.
yes.
So that probably had to hit pretty hard to her.
Yeah, that I want to get married at 16. So she was married at that age,
So
raising a baby.
talk to me about that early relationship with my dad. I don't think we've ever talked about that. Maybe one of the few things we never talked about. What was it like? Was it exciting? What was he like back then?
It's exciting. I mean, I'm young, naive,
Yeah.
never really had a real boyfriend or anything.
Right.
And we used to have fun. I mean, the funny thing is, and I talk about this a lot, our first date was at Acco Raceway,
Right.
where he loved to race.
Yeah.
Him and his best friend Gino.
Yeah.
They used to go down Front Street and race all the time, do the
Yeah.
racing,
Drag
drag
race,
racing.
illegal drag racing.
Yes.
Yes.
And they were trying to actually get it legalized.
Yep.
They were big with that.
Right.
But yeah, we grew up together, I guess.
Yeah. Was he a puppy dog back then? Like with like he was later?
Yeah, he was. He
Oh,
always was.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was always very,
affectionate.
Yes. Yeah.
So you graduate high school when?
1975.
September of 70, I mean, or June
June
of,
75.
yeah. And,
My senior year of high school, we were planning our wedding.
and you were married October of 75. I was born in March of 76.
Yes.
If you do that math, that is not 9 months from the time you got married.
No, I found out I was pregnant in probably July
Okay.
and
So,
or July, yeah, July or August, and we kept it a secret until we got married because everything at that point for the wedding
yeah.
was done.
Okay.
Deposits were down, everything was paid for.
Yeah.
Just the final payments and stuff were due.
So you probably got pregnant like the week you graduated high school.
Probably.
And I often say, and have said a million times, that I'm probably a basement baby. Could that be accurate?
That could be accurate. They
Oh.
go down basement a lot.
Ah, fucking motherfucker. I knew it. You never told me that, but I knew it was true.
Yeah.
In any event, you used to tell me, you remember you used to tell me that, that you're the Virgin Mary and I was Immaculate Conception.
Sure.
And that I was totally planned.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, right. So tell me about finding out you're pregnant in June of 70. You just graduated high school and you find out you're pregnant.
I go to the doctors
Yeah,
and I was start crying and everything. Like, what am I going to do?
yeah.
And it was funny. The doctor we had, very old fashioned doctor, loved him to death, said only good girls get pregnant. And I'll never forget that. So it made me feel a little bit better.
Right,
But yeah, and then your father knew,
right.
and I think that's it. I mean, we kept it a secret. And then back then, I'm 4'10".
Yeah,
I was 83 pounds.
right.
So hiding a pregnancy,
Not easy.
not easy.
Yeah. When did you
But
start getting the bump?
not until after we got married.
Oh, really?
When we got home from our honeymoon,
Yeah,
I think I was so worried that
yeah,
I really didn't show. My grandmother kind of surmised though,
right.
because
Did you have plans on going to college? What was your plans?
no, I never had planned on going to college at that point.
Right. What was the plan? Or were you working already?
I was working.
Were you like a waitress? Is that what you're doing?
No, I was working. My first jobs were like office jobs,
Okay.
and I really didn't care for them much.
Right.
And then I started waitressing.
Right. Did you like waitressing?
I did like waitressing.
What did you like about it? Laura likes it too, by the way.
I like. I don't know. I think I liked being around all the people and everything. I enjoyed it. I liked always having money in my pocket.
Right.
That was one thing waitressing. You could always pick up an extra shift,
Right.
and you'd always have money in your pocket.
Right. It's more instantaneous, right? You're getting your money right away.
Right.
So tell me, I come in March of 76. You had just turned 19 years old, right?
Yes.
Tell me about you now. Now you're young. You're 19 years old. My father just turned 20. Now you have a baby. What's life like?
You know what? I don't think it was much different than when I was home
Really?
because I was used to taking care of babies.
Yeah.
So it was just a continuation
Yeah.
of, so I was actually, I enjoyed it. And I was lucky because I had a lot of support
Right.
with my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and my mom was always there.
Right.
So I was able to go right back to work.
Right.
And she helped out a lot. So I guess that's why it was easy.
Right.
Unfortunately, my mother worked herself.
And
So
and she still had 4 kids at home. I mean,
and she still had 4 little ones at home, or
yeah.
5.
Yeah, 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, she still had the 5 little ones at home because you got to figure Dawn was 5 when I got married.
Well, she was 5 when I was born.
When you were born,
John was 6.
John was 6. So
And what was Billy? Maybe 12, maybe.
12, maybe, yeah. So
So she still had preteens in her house, like
mhm.
5 kids that were preteens, and I guess Susan was 16 or 17, and soon to be out of the house.
Right.
But probably still in the house at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. What was the housing like at first? Did you live with my grandparents at first?
No, we actually had an apartment
Okay.
on 10th and Federal,
Right.
right across from the park.
And then we hopped around houses.
Oh, I can't even remember how many times we moved.
Yeah.
We moved a lot, way too much.
And what was my father doing for work at the time? I guess you were waitressing, right?
I
Mostly.
was waitressing still at that point, yeah.
And my dad was doing what? Different jobs?
Oh, no, he had the job on the waterfront at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And then that kind of got screwed up.
Yeah.
And from there, he was working at like a factory type place. No, not a factory.
Now that was later.
That was later.
So the waterfront job, he got screwed up. He got caught where people were a bunch of guys were stealing, and
Yeah.
my dad took some dumb stuff and got caught because they turned him in, and the guy that turned him in wound up being like the ringleader, really.
Yeah.
So he got away with that, but then lost his job.
He lost his job.
And then I guess what did he do after that? Do you remember?
Oh, he was doing it. He was working for a truck driving company.
Yeah.
Then he worked for a guy fixing machines and stuff.
Right. He did that for a while, and then
Did that for a
did he
while.
leave for the construction stuff with Roman after that?
Yes, I think so.
And that was probably his best job, right?
It was, yeah.
And then and that was maybe what, from when like I was 10 or 12 or something like that.
Something like that.
And we were doing okay for a little bit, and then Roman was a drunk idiot, so he lost that whole business.
Mm-hmm.
And then didn't he go back to the machine shop?
I think, yeah.
And then that didn't work out.
Right. And then he got a job with
And
a
then
paper company.
right, that was later, right? That was after
later.
that was after I was out of the house.
Yeah.
But there was a while there between Roman, like between working that construction business company and then at the machine shop where he was just like out of work a lot.
A lot. Off and on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doing odd jobs.
Yeah.
And then one summer, him and John were doing like they were building decks one summer.
Yeah.
That was okay. But talk to me about that. Talk to me about the difficulty of. Well, let's take a step back real quick because, so you're bouncing around houses, I guess, right? And then when is Teresa is born in 1980?
81.
81. So I'm 5 years old, right? So we were bouncing around, and then when did we get the house on 8th Street?
83.
All right. So shortly thereafter, and then you sort of.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
80,
Because
80,
we were living.
82?
Not, wait a minute. Why am I thinking? No, it's got to be 83.
Okay.
It's got to be because, right, we were on
Marshall Street
when Teresa was born.
Yeah. So talk about that time. So I never talked about that time on this podcast in particular, but like in the early 80s, your mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family were all like literally the whole 15 of it, 15 brother, well, how many? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 or 13 brothers and sisters were all living within a 1 block radius.
Yeah, I mean, my mother had rented a house on Marshall Street, right down the street from where my mom
and Pop
were.
Right.
I was renting my cousin's house right next door.
Right.
Who introduced me to your father.
Right. Johnny and Diane were 2 doors down.
2 doors down.
And then Susan and Richie were
right next door.
And then all the kids were basically half the kids were still there, and then the furthest one away was Sammy and Kathy who were on 7th Street, which is a block away, a block and a half away.
Yeah, at that point we were all living.
Yeah, and then at one point Eddie was down the street too.
Yes.
Right, he was down the other block, right?
Yeah, he was right on the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, of 2400 Marshall.
And then Teresa comes around in 81.
She comes in 81.
And was he still working full time at that point? Or I think that's when it started, right? He had lost the job at the.
He had lost his job. I found out I was pregnant with Teresa Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Of 80.
Okay.
Right around Christmas, your father loses his job at the trucking company.
Okay.
They laid him off.
Gotcha.
From there, we ended up probably back with my mom and pop.
I think that's right.
And then
No, I think we might even been with your mother for a
we
little.
did go with my mother for a little bit.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
with a bunch of kids.
the kids. No, actually, my mother moved in with me.
Okay.
That's what it was. She moved in with her and the kids moved in with me. I was pregnant with Teresa,
Yeah.
and we were next door to my mom and
We're
pop
at Stella. Yeah,
at
Stella's.
Stella's house, Lenny and Stella's house. And I was pregnant with Teresa
Yeah,
because I had, and her and the 5 kids moved in with us for a little bit.
I remember that. Yeah, that's the
I
big
forgot about that.
that's a big scrapple sandwich story that maybe someday I'll tell on this podcast. But yeah,
And my mother was going through her stuff and used to disappear
yeah,
and not come home and leave
right,
me with the 5 kids.
right.
And I've
So
got you. And then I had Teresa
yeah,
and a dog who had puppies.
yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Did they remember the day of
Yeah,
Teresa's
christening.
christening?
Yeah,
I had all these puppies upstairs.
I do remember that. Remember, I was the only one allowed in to remember the dog would let me in
Yeah,
in
in the
the
room.
in the room with
We
her.
had them in the middle bedroom or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Yes. For anybody who's listening to this, we're talking about the 2500 block of South Marshall Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which, these houses are 750 square foot houses. And you're talking about, my grandmother had 5 kids. My mother had a kid and a half, right? Because she was pregnant with the other, and then 3 adults are living there.
Hmm.
And by that time, she had left your father,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
I say that now. People will understand why I preface it later, but it had left him, and your grandmother was living
With my father.
with your mother's ex-husband,
Yes.
which
Yes.
was a strange thing.
Very strange.
Would you ever figure that out? What was that? Did she just feel bad
She
for him?
felt bad for him. To her, it was her son.
Yeah,
I mean, they were married for over 20 years.
right.
And to her, and like I said, my grandmother was always with us.
Yeah,
She lived with us all the time.
right,
I thank God for my grandmother. But she thought, she felt bad for him. My mother had somebody else.
right,
So,
right.
he was all alone and she felt bad for him. She wanted to take care of him.
And she found the other guy, Joe. She was working, right? Is that
Yeah,
where?
she was working at the diner. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
She met him there.
And talk to me about your father and that relationship and dealing with that. I mean, he was pretty hardcore alcoholic.
He was. I mean, it's a shame because when he wasn't drinking, the
Yeah,
few times he did, like go on, it stopped.
right,
He wasn't a bad man. He really wasn't.
right.
But when he was drinking,
Just awful.
awful. He you know what he's one of those one's not enough, and it just,
Yeah, or no, yeah.
what's the
What
saying?
the saying is, a million. One is too many. A million's not
Man's
enough.
not enough.
Right.
He just never stopped. He would go to work. He
Yeah,
had a really good job,
yeah,
making really, really good money back in the 70s and 80s. I
right.
mean, he made really good money.
Yeah,
But we never had anything because
yeah.
he'd leave work and go drinking.
And there's a story. You guys moved to New Jersey for a minute, right?
Yeah, we were in New Jersey for a couple of years. And because of his drinking, we lost the house.
Yeah,
And my mother never told anybody anything.
yeah.
She always kept everything a secret.
And that was
So
that was like a lifelong thing with her, right? I mean, that's just the way it was.
it's the way it was. She never told anybody anything. Everything was a secret.
And the women in her family were all like that. Is that fair? I mean, it seemed to be.
It is. My grandmother, I think my grandmother back right before she got sick and passed away,
Yeah,
she wanted to tell me some secrets.
yeah,
She started to, and then it just never happened.
yeah,
She ended up having a stroke, and
yeah. Well, I think you learn some of those secrets later in life. Is that fair?
that is very fair.
So we'll get to that. But so talk to me. So once Teresa comes around, you guys do get the house on A Street, and we sort of settled down. It was a big deal, right?
It was a big deal when we bought that house.
Tell me about the how feeling of that at that point.
I mean, it was great. I mean, we bought a fixer-upper,
Yep.
uh, and I was just thrilled to death, so happy I got my own home.
Yeah.
I don't have to move anymore. You
Right.
know, we're finally going to settle down. And we were in there for 10 years.
Right. But pretty early on, there's some pretty shitty shit that happened.
Yes.
So, 1984, we're in there maybe a year.
And yeah, just about a year.
Uh,
No, I think Teresa was just getting ready. Yeah, because Teresa was just getting ready to turn 2.
right. And June 2nd of 1984. My uncle was living with us. So we had people in and out over the years
Yeah,
living with us, right? I
yeah.
mean, your brother John lived with us for a while.
My sister Michelle,
Michelle, Billy for a minute,
Billy for a minute.
and Eddie at the time was there, and he committed suicide in our basement. Talk to me about what do you remember from that night? You were working, weren't you?
I was working, and me and my sister Susan worked. We worked at the Quality Inn up on Penrose Avenue.
Yeah,
I think we were doing banquets back then,
yeah,
and they get a phone call with my manager gets a phone call and they get Susan on the phone and they say, we got to go home.
yeah.
And
And what time of night was that?
that was probably like 11, it was late,
It
11, 12 o'clock at
it
night.
was 11, 12 o'clock at night, but it wasn't like 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
No, no.
Right. Yeah. Because in my mind as a kid, it was so late at night, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
No, it was like 11, it was maybe around midnight.
Okay.
So I get told to come home that, something happened with Eddie. I walk in the house and everybody's at my house.
Yeah.
And mom's there, all the family's there. And I'm thinking, okay, didn't think anything of it because I was at the time the only one that had kids, that
Right.
had children. So
Right.
thinking, okay, everybody came here because
Yeah. He's hurt or
he's,
something.
and something happened at the park because
Yeah.
that's where he always hung out. So I'm
Right.
figuring, well, they all came to my house because the kids are here, they're sleeping.
Right.
Next thing I know, I hear stuff down the basement, and I see the basement door off the
Hinges.
hinges, and I'm going, "What's going on?" And that's when they tell me because I think at that point I knew Eddie had something happened to Eddie, and he was gone, but I didn't realize. Like I said, I thought it happened at the park.
Right.
So I see the door off the hinges. I said, "What's going on?" And that's when they tell me that he was down in the basement.
He was still there.
He was still there.
So what was mom like at the time?
She was a mess.
I,
She was just
you heard me tell this story, but the thing that I remember two things being woke up and I remember her screaming. Do you remember that?
hmm
It's not something I made up.
no, no. All I know is as they were getting ready to bring Eddie up from the basement, I ran upstairs
Okay.
because I just couldn't.
And I up there with Christine?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was up
Teresa
there.
slept through the whole. She wasn't quite 2 yet.
Right. Yeah, they came. Christine and Jimmy came in and woke me up.
So this was 1983.
No, 84.
Well, then she would. She was 2. She was going to be 3.
Sounds right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Tell me about the aftermath, like just with my father. How did he deal with it?
Not well at all. I don't think he was ever the same after that.
Yeah.
And the bouncing with jobs and never having any steady work, and I really think that had a lot to do with,
Yeah.
he just,
So for anybody that doesn't know, my dad he my uncle shot himself with my dad's shotgun in the middle of the chest, laying down in my basement, and my dad ripped the door off the hinges to go find his brother. And so that's a lasting image that my father had.
and thing is, your father was always very, very careful when it came to guns.
He was.
He had the guns were in one spot.
Yeah.
Bullets were a completely different place.
Right.
Up like on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
So you had to go looking
To find
ammo and load it.
Right.
It's not like this gun was sitting there all ready to go.
Yeah. Do you ever have any long conversations with my father about it and those types of things?
Not really. He really didn't talk much about it.
Yeah.
You know.
We're at that house for a year maybe.
No, we ended up staying there
No,
for
no,
quite a
I'm
while.
saying when this
Oh yeah, when
happened.
this happened, yeah.
So then we stayed another 9 years.
Yeah, we moved out in 93.
And then,
Not by choice.
no, I mean, so all the struggle, the money struggles basically catch up, right? I mean,
Yes.
they just all catch up.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that time and just that struggle. What, what was it like? I mean, you're working, right?
Yeah. Sometimes two jobs.
Yeah. And he's struggling just to keep a job.
Yes.
Talk. I mean, how many, you know the conversation I had with him at 15. I had the same conversation with you, to be honest, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But how about conversations with him just about just trying to keep a job or any job, like those types of things?
He always had this thing that, if it didn't pay enough,
Yeah,
he wouldn't take it. And I would even say to him, it doesn't matter.
right.
Anything will
Anything.
help.
Yeah,
Anything will help. Because, back then I was still waitressing. But then I decided after Teresa started school,
right,
I decided to go back to college.
right. And what year was that? 91? 90?
No, I graduated in 88.
Oh, you did.
So,
So 86.
so 86, because I went for 2 years
Right.
and I did pretty much a summer and everything.
So yeah, I was 12 years old
Yeah,
when you graduated.
yeah,
And your grandmother was there to see that, right?
she was. I was right before she got
She passed.
passed.
Was my dad working at that time, off and on again? Just like,
Off and on. Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
can't even remember at this point. It was so,
yeah,
so sporadic.
sporadic. Yeah. You graduate, and then you sort of start moving up in the hotel industry.
Correct. Yeah. I started out as an assistant manager
Yeah.
and then worked my way into the front office end and just worked my way up, became a GM. And I
Yeah.
was a GM for a lot of years,
For several different properties.
several different properties.
What did you like most about the hotel industry?
I actually used to love the interaction with all the guests and everything. And in the beginning, it was a lot of fun. We
Right.
used to have a lot of fun. Towards the end, it wasn't fun anymore.
Well, you just got tired of it, right? Is that it?
Well, everything's changed. The way people act,
Yeah.
the employees, nobody wants to work. Everybody wants a job, but nobody wants to work.
Yeah.
It's like you tell people this is not a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job. This is a 24-hour business. You work weekends, holidays.
Yeah.
They take the job and then all of a sudden it's not enough money and I want this day off, that day off. And it just, trying to juggle the employees and the guests,
Yeah.
it just became a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about raising me. What was it like being my mother? People are going to want to know that.
You were easy to raise.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny that you say that, Mo. Because, well, good.
To,
Finish.
you were easy to raise. I mean, as far as I knew,
Yeah.
you did what you were supposed to. You didn't really give me any problems. You
Right.
didn't get in any trouble for the most, I mean, that one stupid thing that happened that wasn't your fault anyway.
Well, right when I got arrested the one
Yes,
time.
the one time.
Yeah, but
But
you remember when I got in a gang fight and had to go to court?
I don't, I blocked that for some reason.
You don't. You remember when Jimmy got stabbed and all that, and I had to go to court and all
I
that stuff?
don't. I
Really?
don't. Yeah, I must have really blocked that out.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I was 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
Do you remember it now though that I tell you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess Daddy dealt with it more.
I think he did. I was always working, so
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah. You give me 50, 60 hours a week.
yeah.
I mean, for most of that, like my teenage years, I think. How about navigating the relationship between me and my dad as me as a teenager and him? How was that?
That got rough sometimes because I always felt like I had to be mediator in between because your father would get in his rants
Yeah.
and he was always right.
Right. Yeah.
No matter what, he was always right.
Right. It was his house.
It was his house and
that kind of thing.
yeah.
Do you remember the blowout right before I left? With when I was working at the Holiday Inn with you. You remember that blowout when he threw me out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would yeah. I mean, I guess my question to you is, what was it like navigating it? You're just, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are you just trying to just get by? Is that the way that you were thinking about it? What were you thinking about it?
I guess just getting through day to day,
Yeah,
just getting through, trying to make ends meet,
yeah,
trying to keep a roof over our head, food in the house,
yeah.
my kids safe,
Right,
clothes on the back, and
right. It just
making sure that I didn't want you. Unfortunately, you of all people, you knew too much of what was going on.
yeah. I know everything. Yeah,
You knew everything, and no matter how I tried to keep it, there was no way of keeping you not knowing.
yeah. I guess that's what I always wondered. I guess we never particularly talked about it, just your mindset at the time. And I always thought that it was just the mindset of just trying to make it through the day.
Just yeah,
And not, it's hard to worry about all these other things going on when you have to worry about keeping a roof over your head, you know?
I didn't know from year to year where we were going to be.
Yeah,
I mean, it was we'd move into a place, and the next thing you know, we'd be back with mom and pop.
right.
Then we'd find a place, and we'd be back with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I even lived with my brother John and his wife
Yeah,
for a
well,
little bit. I
right.
mean, that was after we lost the house.
Right. That was in like 92,
93. That was in 93.
93, 11th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted you home, and I wanted you with me, and
Right.
it didn't work out that way.
So let's talk about that conversation. You realize that the house is getting foreclosed. I was 15 at the time. I guess we were out of the house by the time I was 16, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you remember that conversation I had with you?
Yeah, I do. The one where you told me to
What
move on.
Yeah, so well, listen, we were struggling. We were losing the house. My dad didn't have a job probably for over a year.
Right.
It had been really a big struggle. And you said you didn't know what to do. And I said, I think what I said was I love my dad and I don't want to see you guys break up, but you can't keep doing this.
Yes, you did.
And you didn't listen to me.
No, I did not.
And which was part of the reason I think there was a big blow up at John's house, right? Because I don't know that they knew that he was coming. Does that sound right?
That might be a possibility. But your father always had this thing where he had to give his opinion about everything.
Well, the first night there.
The first night there.
Yeah.
And poor Ray is making us dinner.
Yeah.
And he turns around and says something to her about the pork that she's making.
Right.
And the next thing you know, she just lost it.
Lost it, yeah.
And
yeah, well, yeah, forks start flying.
Yeah.
But I guess people will want to know this. My dad certainly wasn't abusive, was he?
No, not at all.
Could be verbally unkind at times.
Yes.
Or just overly critical. Is it more? It was more of that, right?
I think it was more of that. I mean, he was never mean.
Right, like he never called you names.
No, no.
But he's always criticized everything.
Yeah,
or had to second guess everything. Does that sound right?
Yeah, he had a tendency, if I was doing something, he'd tell me, you need to do it this way.
Right.
So I get a little annoyed sometimes when people do that.
Yeah.
To this day, because.
So why stay with him all that time? Why let that happen? Again, that's not to say that you didn't love him, but he wasn't pulling his weight. He wasn't pulling his weight as like the equal in the relationship, right?
No, he wasn't. No.
I mean, if it wasn't for his parents, many times we probably would have been homeless.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
if it wasn't for his parents, many times we wouldn't want our food.
Right.
Because it was funny. We all did it. All her kids did it. She had as you came down the basement, she had a shelf with all kinds of canned goods and box stuff and all.
Yeah.
And we'd all come in and just go shopping.
Yeah. I had a blow up here at my house several weeks ago because my kids and my wife were giving me a hard time about eating their leftovers. And, I made a deal with them that, a year ago that if you put your name on it, it won't get eaten, right? But it was like one of these things where somebody wanted something and I ate it, and they got pissed off at me, and I let it go for a minute, and then I came home the next day, and I walked to the kitchen. I walked to the kitchen. They were all three of them were sitting in the living room, and I took out a half a gallon of milk, 2 eggs, some condiments, and like an onion. And I said, "This is what my fucking refrigerator looked like growing up." So the next time somebody complains to me about leftovers when we have a whole fucking supermarket in this house, I'm going to lose my mind. I don't do that to me, right? We don't fight over food here.
Right.
So, again, I mean, I know, for better or worse, I mean, it's what our refrigerator looked like.
It did sometimes. I mean, I remember buying a box of rigatonis, a frozen bag of broccoli,
Yeah,
and making dinner with that.
right.
I mean, that was the type of things I would find things that were really inexpensive
Yeah.
to make us so we'd have
And then,
dinner.
yeah, and I don't want anybody to think that I went hungry because that never happened.
No,
Because we always had family support. We just did. But the point is, my dad was a loving person. He was,
yes,
and he could be very great. Certainly a great friend. But as a provider, he just didn't do it. I just always wondered why he just kept letting it happen.
I don't know. I just for some reason just couldn't bring myself to leave him.
Yeah. Wasn't.
I think I knew that if I did,
Yeah.
he would be done.
Yeah.
He would never,
It would devastate
it
him.
would devastate him, and I don't think he would have lived very long after that.
You think?
I think that's what always went through my head.
Yeah.
And I did love him, for better or worse.
Yeah. 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 I mean, he's a lovable guy. I mean, he definitely was.
I mean, it came to the point where we were in Buena living in a trailer,
Yeah.
and I had an opportunity to buy a house. And I said, you either come with me or you don't.
And he came.
And he came.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you finally put your foot down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
At that point, and then he did eventually sort of straighten up
Yes.
and get a job. It was much later in life than most people, and then, I mean, probably like a good 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, things were going towards, we bought the house in Swedesboro. Things were starting to really go good.
Yeah.
We were doing well. I had my mother moved in with us. She was actually part owner of the house,
right,
because she never really owned anything either. So it was like, okay, we're buying a house together, and she knew she didn't have to worry. Not that she did anyway, because there were a few others that were taking her in a heartbeat, but
right.
This was her home too.
Mm-hmm.
It was mine and her home, and it was going really well. Everything was great, and he was doing really good with work, and finally working steady. And then she got sick and unfortunately passed away. And then he got sick, and
Yeah, and that was like a year apart or 2 years apart?
2 years apart.
Yeah. All right, so we get to Swedesboro, but I want to take a step back into talking about Teresa and you're raising her.
She was a handful.
Yeah.
I mean, to say the least.
Yeah. But, you're always working, not a whole lot of time.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Talk to me about how my dad felt about raising a daughter.
They really didn't get along well.
No.
In the beginning.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. As she got older.
Yeah, and she moved away.
Moved away, they were best of friends.
Yeah.
They would talk on the phone all the time. She'd never call me, but she'd always be on the phone with her father.
Yeah. Well, she still never calls me.
Well, yeah, I have to call her still.
I love her.
Me too.
But her husband calls me, so at least there's something.
Yeah.
All right. So you get to Swedesboro. You're living with your mom, and you get a phone call. Remember this phone call?
Wait a minute. No. This was before.
This was before Swedesboro?
Before Swedesboro.
Was it? You sure about that?
Yeah, we were living in Bermuda.
Oh, you were
If
looking.
if it's the phone call I'm thinking of,
Yeah, it's a phone call from your what might be your biological father.
yes. So we're in Buena,
Yes.
and my mother was living with Ginny at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
This was right before we bought the house in Sweeto.
Gotcha.
So I had just come home from work. I was working the overnight shift for some reason.
Right.
I had just come home from work. It was a Sunday morning. I'm laying on the couch, sleeping or dozing. My mother's on the chair. Your father's at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Get a phone call, and your father hands me the phone. And who I thought was my real father at the time,
Yeah.
his wife is on the phone other end,
Right.
and she says, I just wanted to let you know we had did a paternity test.
Yeah. Yeah. So wait. So all right. Let's take a step back for everybody. So you are about 7 or 8 years old. You get to school, and you realize that your name is different.
Correct, because the only father I know is my father that raised me, Bill Ash.
Right.
He's my father. That's all I know.
Right. So his name's Ash. You get to school. Your last name's King.
King.
And you go home and you ask your mother, "What's this about?"
Well, I didn't even no, not even at that point. I was around 12 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I never really
Even asked.
asked. So I'm like 12 years old, and kids at school. I mean,
Right.
somebody turns around and says to me, "You have a different name. He's not your father."
Right.
Pretty much. I don't remember if it was exactly that way, but
Right.
that's pretty much what.
That they said.
So of course, the one time I do ask a question,
Yeah.
I said, "How come our names are different?" And that's when it all kind of blew up, and
Yeah.
I found out that my father wasn't my biological father.
Right. That allegedly your biological father was Bill Kane,
Was Bill King.
a different guy.
Yes.
So you go, I don't know, 32 more years, right? You're like 40 years old, weren't you?
Yeah.
Somewhere around. And
My sister Susan, my father passes away.
right, Bill Ash.
Bill Ash passes away. So now all of a sudden my sister Susan wants to find out about, because she believes that Bill King was both our fathers.
Right.
So it's the two of us and my 5 little brothers and sisters.
Right.
So I get a phone call from my uncle. Why is your daughter reaching out to
Bill King.
Bill King? I said, it's not my daughter.
Right.
Here was my sister's daughter,
Right.
my niece.
Yeah.
So now the wife insists that we have a paternity test.
Right.
Because they think I'm his, but they're not quite sure about Susan.
Right.
So we go for a paternity test.
And you didn't really want to even do it.
I did not. Then it's like my sister put me in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing to do with it.
And talk to everybody about why, I guess.
Well, at this point, I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
My kids are grown.
Right.
My father is gone. And my second father treated me like a daughter. So I wasn't looking for a father. I didn't really care who my biological father was.
Right. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter to me.
You had a family.
I had a family. I didn't need to know. I didn't care.
Right.
I mean, when I was in my 20s, I wanted to find out, and I was told they didn't want to be bothered. Right. So I moved on. And now I'm 40 years old, in my 40s, and all of a sudden this all comes up.
Yeah.
So we take a paternity test, and I get this phone call.
Yeah.
At 8:00 Sunday morning to be told neither one of yous are his.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know that. I hadn't even gotten the results back yet.
Yeah, yeah. So you did ask your mom.
So then and the ironic thing is my mother's there when this all happens. Yeah. So I asked my mother, and I said to my mother, Mom, I don't care. Right. I really don't care.
Just tell me the truth.
To me, I always said, my mother was 16 years old. She was a baby. Right. She got pregnant. It was 1955 at the time. Right. Well, it might have been
early 56.
56, exactly, December.
Right.
So we're talking early 56. You did that was taboo back then.
Right. She needed to have a husband.
She had to have a husband.
Right.
She got married. She married the kid she was,
Date.
dating at the time and got married.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you did back then.
Right.
I didn't care. Mom, I don't care.
Yeah.
She just shut down.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the end of my mother.
Really?
That's when she just,
There was a slow decline after that.
After that, I mean, we bought the house and everything after that.
Right.
But
she just wouldn't even respond to
she
it?
would. The one thing she did say, because she knew it wasn't me, she knew it was Susan.
Yeah.
She said, I gave her a father. Why is she doing this?
Right.
And that man kissed the ground my sister walked on.
Yeah.
He was living with her when he passed away.
Right. Did she recognize that the two of you didn't have that great a relationship? Your mother, or just never really?
That me and my father did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she did. That's why I was so close with my mother and my grandmother.
Right.
I was always.
Do you think that he resented that?
He might have. That could have been part of it. Yeah, that could have been part of it.
But he was okay with you when he was not drunk. But when he was drunk, he was mean to everybody.
He was mean to everybody. It wasn't anything in particular. I mean, he was just a nasty drunk.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because he was really a good man when he wasn't. Yeah. I mean, I remember the few times that he did when he wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
And there are a few other people that could tell you some really good stories.
Right.
And he was a good friend.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He really was. He was a good brother-in-law. Yeah. But unfortunately, the alcohol took over. And he was another one that lost really good jobs because of it.
Yeah, right. Just because he couldn't. Yeah.
Because he couldn't. Yeah.
Handle the two. My two stories about him, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Unfortunately.
The one is, I don't know how old was I, 12 or 13 years old when he came over and he walked through the door. The door was unlocked. Yeah. And you remember me standing at the door with a baseball bat? Do you remember the interaction between me and him or at all?
No, not too much, but I know it wasn't.
No, yeah, it wasn't much. I was just standing because I didn't know who the fuck it was. So, and he sort of walked, stumbled. He stumbled in.
Well, he actually left a VA hospital
that day,
or he was in one of those rehab places.
Yeah, the rehabs. Yeah,
that he actually walked out of and took buses to come back.
Yeah, yeah. And then he needed money.
He needed money.
Yeah. He said, "What do you want to do with that bat?" Careful, buddy. and then at Michelle's wedding. Yeah. Is when, you asked me to go say hello to him. I didn't really want to. He was hitting on my grandmother on the dance floor. I go up to him to shake his hand. In his mind, he thinks I'm trying to get in between them. And he tells me to get away. And I'm a bag of emotions. So I wasn't sad, but I start crying because I was just so fucking mad. Yeah, I know. I was mad at you. And I was just mad at the situation, mad that he would do that to me. And Johnny saw me, his son, went up to him, said something to him, like, you're a fucking asshole. Yeah. It's your grandson. And he came over to shake my hand and apologize to him. Were you there? I remember that, yeah. Were you standing there? Yeah. I told him to shove his hand up his ass. Yeah. And then I start cursing at him, and Johnny's like, all right, that's enough. You said what you had to say. Yeah. Came over to you. That's right. She did. She came over to me. She kissed me and she said, well, don't worry. I love you. Yeah. And I think, to be honest with you, Mom, I think that's probably the only time she ever said she loved me. She didn't say that to very many people. Yeah. At all, to anybody. I don't think my mom, I don't know if my mom told me she loved me. Yeah, I don't, She was a very introverted, she didn't talk much at all. Except to Laura. Yeah, I mean, she would sit and have conversations with Laura. Yeah, I mean, yeah, frivolous conversations. Yeah, yeah. Never, no. Never about life or her thoughts, or she was always a closed book. Yes. Yeah, I often wonder about, again, she was still raising kids when I was born. By the time she had any time for me, and I was like a teenager. Yeah. I mean, a mid-teenager by that time. Yeah. I mean, so. And then she moved to Florida. Right. So there was never really a chance for us to have a relationship. I don't hold any grudges or anything like that. It was what it was. It was never a relationship, really.
No, I mean, like you said, my baby sister was 6 when
5.
5. I'm sorry, 5 when you were born.
Right. So 5 and 6, right?
5 and 6, as late as they say.
And
She
then,
was still raising kids.
and then she moved in with Joe, and that was a shit show.
Yeah.
Because he basically pushed the kids out one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
John, and then Johnny came and lived with us for a while.
Yeah. Billy was with me for a little bit.
Yeah.
Then John came and lived with me off and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
So, all right. So that now we're up to Swedesboro. You're living in Swedesboro. Things are going well. And then my dad croaks on you.
Well, first things are going really well. He goes and has gastric bypass surgery.
Yeah.
He's losing weight. He's able to work and has a good, steady job.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he gets sick.
Right.
And it was right around New Year's.
Uh-huh.
His hotel that he was working at, he was the chief engineer there.
Yeah.
Everything was falling apart, and he had to be there over New Year's because he had to do 24-hour watch. There was like all kinds of things going on.
Right.
So, and I was working right up the road from him.
Right.
At another hotel, but for the same company. And so I'd go back and forth. And it got to the point where you knew he was sick, but he wouldn't go to the doctors.
Right.
So I called the doctor who we had been going to for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And couldn't get him in.
So
there was something going on, and so then I talked to you.
Well, they wanted to get him another X-ray
or something.
Like they gotten him 15 fucking X-rays over the year. Yeah.
So I talked to you, and Charlie had just become a doctor.
Right.
And I get him in with him.
Yeah.
We get him in. We go over to because we both left work that day. Went over to see him. He says, "You're not going anywhere. You got double pneumonia. You're going right to the hospital."
Right.
Puts him in the hospital, starts
doing tests.
And your father says to me, "I bet you I have cancer." I said, "Oh, will you stop?"
Yeah.
Next thing I know, they call me in the next day.
Yeah.
And tell me he's got stage 3, possibly 4 lung cancer.
Right.
And it was all in his one lung. It had already started to move over to his other lung.
And it turned out to be the worst kind of. It turned out to be 4B.
4B, yeah.
So.
Within 6 weeks, he started the chemotherapy and everything.
Yeah.
Within 6 weeks, he was gone.
Right. Yeah. Just a few days before we were supposed to go on Disney vacation, which would have been the first real vacation you guys had probably in 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Tell me about dealing with, so he was 55.
55, he had just turned 50. Remember, he had his 55th birthday 3 days before?
Right. Yeah, and I bought him a bucket. I bought him a bucket that said, "Do not kick." And he died. Don't kick the bucket, get it, guys. And then he dies 3 days.
So he had a big birthday party for his 55th birthday.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying to me about the birthday party, he said, "Oh, you're going to be like little grandma. Remember I used to tell you every year, well, you never know when she's going to,
Yeah.
Because she was old when I was little.
Right.
So you never know. And he would say to me, "Okay, I've heard that enough. She lived to be 100.
Right.
So I said, "Then you're going to be like little grandma." 3 days later.
Yeah, he passed away.
On
the kitchen floor.
Yes.
Right after he made you, what did he make you, a turkey?
So I call him. I'm on my way home from work.
Yeah.
And I still do this to today. I always called him when I was on my way home.
Yeah.
Because at this point he can't work. So, I said, "I'm on my way home." He said, "All right, I made a turkey breast."
Uh-huh.
And it's, on the plate on the counter. "I'm going to go lay down. I already ate." I said, "All right." So I come home. I try to be quiet. And we had a little rancher, 3-bedroom rancher, all 1 floor. So I'm trying to be quiet. I go get changed and everything. And I'm getting ready to make a sandwich, and your father gets up. I said, oh, I didn't want to wake you up. He said, no, right. So I make a turkey sandwich. We just sit on the couch. We're watching TV, and we're talking about the trip that he's already packed for.
Right.
Because he can't wait. We're leaving in 2 days.
Right.
On the 16th. Next thing I know, he starts coughing, and he grabs his basket, and he starts spitting up blood.
Yeah.
And crazy me, I call the doctor because I had Charlie's cell phone number. So I call him, I tell him what's happening, call the ambulance. I call the ambulance. My sister Jenny lived right up the road from us. I call her. She just happens to be at Bado's, which is right up the street from us. She actually made it down to the house before the ambulance got there. So she's helping me with your father.
Yeah.
I get him to the kitchen sink, and I didn't realize at that point how thin he had gotten.
Yeah.
And I get him to the kitchen, and then he just fell out of my arms onto the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do. Jenny comes in, because I'm in like sweatpants and t-shirt.
Yeah.
So I go get changed, and she's there while the paramedics come in and everything.
Yeah.
And basically tell your aunt, you used to head to the hospital, take your time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't know this till afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. So he was dead on the floor?
I think he died on the floor.
Did you, like, was he still coughing? Was he, when you were carrying him or whatever?
Yeah, he was still coughing.
Was he still communicating?
And he fell on the floor, and the last thing I said, I'm David, we're going away in a couple days, and I'm talking about the trip and everything.
Yeah.
And the last thing he said to me was, I love you.
Yeah.
And then that was it. He kind of passed out, or he went unconscious at that point.
Yeah.
And right after that, the ambulance come in. They did what they had to do, took him out, and basically told your aunt, just take your time.
Yeah.
Well, that was the longest ride to that hospital.
Did I get there before you?
You did. You did get there before me.
Yeah.
Because then I'm in the car with your aunt
and
calling you, and then I called my boss. He cried on the phone because he was both our bosses.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so you called me, and I guess I was probably driving 100 miles an hour. I don't know. But yeah. I got there, and Charlie met me at the door, and I'm like, I said to him, my dad's dead, isn't he? And he's like, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And then we went, I went in to see him.
And
then Ginny was trying to maneuver his arm, to maneuver his arms and legs because they were frozen because the rigor mortis set in, and she's trying to straighten his fucking legs out. I love you, kid, but you're a weirdo.
All I know is as we're driving there,
yeah,
I had to pee. This is what happens when I get nervous.
Yeah,
I have to pee.
Did you piss yourself, Dad?
I did not.
Oh, good for you.
But I have some good stories of those.
Oh, good, yeah.
But I had to pee so bad. So by the time we find a McDonald's, we're at the hospital.
Right.
We get into the emergency room.
Yeah.
And I run right to the bathroom. Well,
Yeah.
Laura followed me because she didn't know what was going on.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's just, and then after I took care of that,
yeah,
we went back and,
So talk to me about losing your husband and dealing with that when everything settles down. Now you're by yourself. You're by yourself for really the first time in your life, really?
Pretty much. I mean, I went from one house with 10 people to me and your father.
And a baby
a couple months later.
Yeah. How did that feel? Just that being on your own.
It was strange. I mean, I knew I'd be fine in that respect because I always worked. I know how to drive. I pretty much took care of everything anyway. Right. So I knew how to balance a checkbook and pay the bills and do all that stuff. So, but when I first went back to the house, I would walk in and just turn all the lights on.
Really?
Yeah. And then little by little,
It got better.
it got better. But in the beginning, it was rough. It was actually rough going home.
Yeah.
But I would just turn all the lights off.
You start dating, I don't know, maybe a year later?
A year later, yeah.
And you were feeling bad about it. You were having a nice time.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that emotion. You came over to me and you were upset because you felt bad that you were having a good time
Because I was happy.
because you were happy.
Yeah.
And
like maybe I thought it was too soon, that I should have waited a little longer.
was that what you think it was, or was it just the guilt, like the survivor guilt that you were here alive
And doing so well.
and doing well and doing okay and maybe even doing a little better than you were with him?
Yeah, I mean, it was strange. Very,
Yeah.
very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, because technically, did I really date before I married?
No, I mean you were a kid, right?
I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, you had one adult relationship,
yeah. So,
and then, yeah. So you wouldn't even really have known what it was like.
no.
Did you feel like you needed my permission to be happy? I mean, that's a question.
I think I wanted you to be okay with it.
Yeah,
I wasn't so worried about Teresa for some reason.
yeah.
I wanted more for
For me, because it was my dad,
maybe or
a boy and a dad,
or
because I'm here and I would have to see it.
maybe because Teresa was so far away, so
Yeah,
it was a little bit easier not to
worry as much.
worry as much.
Yeah.
She actually took it harder than she was actually a little upset about it.
Yeah, maybe because it felt fast, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I mean, everybody deserves to be happy. You gave them
35 and a half years.
35 and a half years, you don't have to sit in your black outfit for 20 years and more. I mean, you're allowed.
I didn't want to end up like a lot of women that were widowed young.
Right.
And end up being alone the rest of my life.
Right.
And basically everything was about keeping your house clean.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Or just, living for like your grandkids, and then what happens when your grandkids get old enough and they have their own family, right?
Right.
Right. And that's kind of what happened to my to my mom, is that once the kids were older, it was like, what am I living for at this point? Because I don't have anything else.
I don't have anything to do now.
Right. Yeah, I've been taking care of people forever, and now I don't have to take care of anybody, so what do I do?
I did get to a point where after your father passed away, I was like, okay, I'm done taking care of everybody else for a while.
Yeah.
I need to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I did say that to myself.
Right.
I did, it was like, I can't take care of everybody.
Right.
I need to take care of me for a little.
Right. Did that feel good?
It did feel good.
Yeah, it's okay.
It did feel good.
Yeah. All right. So keep me up to date now. You have been in a relationship for how long?
We met in 14.
Yeah.
We started dating in October of 15.
Yeah.
I moved in with them in October of 17.
Right.
So
it's 10 years, over 10 years. 14?
But so it's 8 years.
Oh, 8 years.
8 years.
10 years since you've known.
It'll be 10 years in February that I've known him.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
It'll be 8 years that we're
together. Things are going well?
Things are going well.
You're happy?
I'm very happy.
What's the plan for the next 5 years? What are you doing? You're up your retirement age now, Deb.
I know. I'm collecting my Social Security. I'm very happy about that.
You're still working?
I finally have my retirement job. I work 8 to 4 or 7 to 3, Monday through Friday.
Right.
Weekends off, holidays off.
Do you want to stop working totally?
No. I mean, in about a year or so, I'm thinking maybe part-time.
Right.
Maybe like 3 days a week. Do like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday type thing.
Are you afraid to stop working totally?
Yes, because I didn't work 2 times in my life. I didn't work. I took 6 weeks off after your father passed away
Yep.
and went and saw somebody and talked to somebody for a little bit.
Right.
And then during COVID, I took 6 months off because I
Right.
just needed a break.
Yeah.
I worked all through COVID in the hotel industry.
Yeah. And you had enough.
And as things were coming back, and things were opening back up,
Yeah.
it got crazy out of hand, and I just had enough. I said, I'm
Yeah.
in pretty good health for my age. I would like to stay that way,
Right.
and I don't want to be found on the floor in a hotel
Right. With
where
a heart
somebody
attack.
with a
Yeah.
heart attack or a stroke, and somebody trying to find me.
Right.
So I said, I've had enough. I need to take some time off. And fortunately, at that time, you were able to collect.
Right.
So the whole 6 months, I was throwing my resume out there.
Right.
I never stopped looking for another job, but it gave me that time to finally get out of the hotel business.
Right. And the reset kind of.
And reset and find something that I really wanted to do. And I always wanted to do an accounting type job.
Right.
I always said I missed my calling. And I got lucky and found a job at a concrete company, and I do their billing for them, and I take care of the plant. And
Yeah.
I have a life. I can make plans.
Right.
I can go places. I can do things.
You don't get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No, I don't get those. That after 3 years of being out of the hotel, I got a phone call. Remember the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
When I was down at the point?
Yeah.
That was from the alarm company of the hotel I
Yeah.
used to work at.
Yeah.
So I finally called the alarm company and said to them, please I've been asking everybody to get me off the list. Please take me off the list. So
Yeah.
I think they finally have me off the list, but it's taken them 3 years to get me
Yeah.
off
So
the list.
you don't get phone calls when you're on safaris anymore?
No more safari
On
phone
your
calls.
Disney safari where I had to yell at you in front of hundreds of people.
Yes.
I'm on a safari. And she takes a fucking phone call and there's a lion in the background. A goddamn lion next to the goddamn thing that we're, the monorail thing that we're, or whatever we're on. Anyway. All right.
Wait, I was in Italy.
Yeah, right.
Vacation in Italy.
Yeah.
Getting phone calls from the hotel.
I'm sure.
I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's like you're never off.
Right. No, and nobody can make a fucking decision.
Without you.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I said, I do not miss that at all.
Yeah. Do you miss anything about the hotel industry or working at hotels?
I miss some of the people, but
Yeah, people.
otherwise,
It's always about the people,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I miss some of the people, but otherwise, no. Mm.
So we missed one part of your biological background.
Oh God.
So a couple years ago, you got another phone call, or actually, I got the phone call. So I was on. Well, me and your sister were both on. What website was it?
Oh, it was, yeah, Ancestry.
Ancestry.com. I did the spit thing. I sent it in. I just wanted to know what my ethnic background was, right?
Yes.
So, but I matched with some people out in California and Nevada, and their last name was Russo. So I get it. I guess Susan got the call first. They basically got then they reach out to me. I take the phone. Take a phone call of this group of people that say we're related, that it's your biological father.
Yes.
So again, you want to tell a story?
So I kind of knew about it had been mentioned back when you got married that my sister brought it up to my aunt, and it kind of got mentioned about Russo and everything, but I just
let it go.
Like I said, I wasn't looking for that. I was very content with the way things were.
Right.
I had great family on both sides with my family and my in-laws, and I mean, we still all get together.
Right.
I mean, I have a wonderful family, so I wasn't looking for anything else.
Right.
And I get a phone call, Super Bowl Sunday. I'll never forget this one. It was the Chiefs The first time they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And who did they play?
I don't know. I'll think about it again.
Oh, yeah. So it's the Chiefs. And
Yeah.
I love my Eagles because I just listened to the last podcast.
Uh-huh.
My Eagles are number one.
Okay.
But I'm a Chiefs fan. I like Mahomes. So I'm rooting for the Chiefs. It's their first Super Bowl that they won. And we're at a friend's house of John, who now is my fiance. And he turns around. And my sister's calling.
Yeah.
And she's calling me. And I'm not answering.
Right.
Because we're at a friend's house. We're watching the Super Bowl. And it's like 11 o'clock at night. 10:30, something like that. It's late. It was almost over. And she keeps calling and calling. And this is what, unfortunately, my sister does. She forgets she's out in Arizona and it's
Yeah, 3 hours.
3 hour difference. So John says, don't answer the phone. I said, no, she's just going to keep calling.
Yeah.
So I answer the phone and she says, what are you doing? I said, I'm at a Super Bowl party at a friend's house. Oh, I'll call you. So what's the matter? Because you're constantly calling me, something's wrong. So I'm thinking, God forbid, it could be Teresa.
Right.
Because her and Teresa live in the same area. And I said, what's going on? Well, I just wanted to let you know before I put it on Facebook that I found our brother and our father. I just lost it. I said, don't you dare put me in the middle of this again. Not again. I'm in my 60s now. This is 20 years later.
Right.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know nothing. I don't want to hear nothing. Leave me out of it. I'm done.
Right.
I said, I'm tired of being put in the middle all the time. I'm done. But
You came around.
I came around and I felt bad for my half brothers and sisters because they didn't have anything to do with what happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't their fault. They didn't,
So it turns out that your dad's last name is Russo.
Mm-hmm.
That they lived down the street, I guess, from where your grandmother was at the time.
Yeah, they lived in the neighborhood. They were around even when Susan was little.
So they hooked up when your mom was like 15 or 16.
My mom was 16. They hooked up, and then he went to war, came home on leave. They hooked up again. She got pregnant with Susan.
Yeah.
Because we are both his biological children.
In between when he left the first time, she gets married to Bill Kane.
Yeah, and at this point, she's getting divorced from Bill Kane.
Right, when he comes back.
2
years later.
2.5 years later, he comes back.
Yeah. And then
me and Susan are 2.5 years apart, so probably like a year and a half later.
Right. Probably on his first leave.
He comes back. They hook up again. She gets pregnant with my sister Susan, but at this point she's already getting ready to get divorced, and then she meets my father, Bill Ash, and they get married. She has Susan, and he adored her.
Right.
Bill Ash, he adored my sister.
Right, because she was a baby.
She was a baby. I mean, he was there when she was born.
Right.
So to him, she was his.
Right.
I was already 2.5.
Right.
So I don't remember any of it. For some reason, I don't remember any of that.
So it turns out that you have how many half brothers and sisters?
So I have 5. I have 1 half brother and 4 half sisters.
From Lou
Russo.
And then, you have your 5 from Bill Ash.
Yes. So I am the oldest of 12.
I'm
still the oldest.
From 2 different fathers.
I'm still the oldest. It's me and my Susan. Yeah. And then after Susan, he had his 5.
Right.
A couple with one wife, and he had 3 with one wife and 1 with another wife. And now he's married to a 3rd wife, who's a very nice lady. I've met her.
Yeah. We went out there a couple years ago.
Takes good care of him.
We went out there a couple of years ago to meet him.
Yeah, on his 85th birthday.
Yeah.
So he's still alive and kicking.
He's still alive. You now actually know your biological father.
I do.
It only took 65 years, or however. 64.
64 years. But if it would have been up to me, I probably would have never.
No, I mean I guess that's the beauty and the danger of these DNA test things is that it just stirs things up.
And
Things that you used to be able to keep secret that happens in every family in the history of the world
yeah,
now gets all stirred up, and people find out things that they probably don't really need to know or want to know, really.
and I mean, it put some, it really had some turmoil. I mean, I'm here. My sister's out in Arizona. She doesn't have to deal with the aftermath
Right, of
of
the
of my brothers and sisters.
right feeling some kind of way at this
Right.
point, right?
Yeah,
Again, they were your brothers and sisters.
brothers and sisters doesn't change anything.
Right.
They've always been my brothers and sisters. I mean, I took care of them. I raised them.
Yeah.
They're my babies too.
Yeah. I mean, you walked John down the aisle, right?
Yeah.
When he got remarried. Yeah.
When he got remarried because our mother was already born, so I walked him down the aisle.
Yeah. All right. So what's the 5 year plan? What's Deb and John going to do?
We want to eventually move, but I want to get my forever home.
Yeah.
If and when I move again,
Yeah.
I want this to please be my last move.
Last move.
Because when I moved to Swedesboro, that was going to be my last move.
Are you gonna move to Florida? What do you want to do?
No, I don't want to move to Florida.
You move down the
I
shore?
want to move down there where you're at.
In the middle of nowhere?
Yes,
Close to the shore?
Close to the shore. Close enough where I can drive to the shore whenever I want.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be around all that craziness.
Yeah. No.
I like the quiet. So does John.
Yeah.
John likes quiet too.
Yeah.
I mean, our neighborhood's just like any other neighborhood. We're in the Northeast.
Right. Northeast Philly. Yeah.
Our street is fine.
Right.
But around us is a little sketchy.
I mean, you could say that anywhere in the
But
city.
you can say it anywhere. So everybody says, "Oh, you got to get out of there. You got to." We're fine right now, and
Right.
I'm not looking for a mortgage where I'm going to be in
Right.
support.
Right.
Been there, done that.
Right. All right. I got some questions for you, Deb.
All right. Let me take a quick break.
You got to take another break. You got to fucking piss again?
I do. I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ. Third piss. Hold on.
I know. One before we started. Ugh.
All right. We're back from the third P. So my first question is, tell me what you like most about me, your son. What do you like most about me?
What I like most about you?
Yeah. What do you like most?
Oh no, I love everything about you.
Oh God. Is there one favorite?
You.
Yeah.
When everything happened,
yeah,
you were always there for me.
Yeah. Well, you're my mother. What am I gonna do? Am I gonna fucking leave you?
No. I mean, I cried on your shoulder and everything.
Yeah. Well, I did have a second wife for a while.
You did.
I thank John for that every day. Just kidding. But no, I mean, of course. I wanted you to get back on your feet, though. But I was going to be there for you, of course. I love it. What is your least favorite thing about me?
I guess sometimes just not hearing from you.
Okay. As much. Wait.
As much as I don't call. Yeah.
How about personality wise? The thing that annoys you the most. When you get annoyed with me, what is it? Be honest.
Oh, I hate these questions.
Well, of course you do. But tell the truth.
I don't know. Ask me about you.
Yeah, when do I annoy you? What are the times do I annoy you? When I have too much to say? When I'm a little prickish?
I guess when you start getting mean, like when you start getting loud and nasty, you know. I remember there's sometimes I would be at the house and you'd start yelling and I'd get a little,
Upset.
Yeah, I would just kind of just stand back and not say a word.
Yeah, and it would remind you of my father.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. What advice do you have for the 18-year-old version of you? If you can go back and give 18-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
Don't do certain things so quickly.
Slow down.
Slow down.
Like
When I was when I was 16,
Yeah.
I used to always say, I'm not getting married till I'm 25, and I'm going to have a career, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I meet your father, and all that just went right out the window.
Yeah.
So I would tell myself to kind of
Slow down.
slow down
Don't have a kid at 18.
at 19, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You want to re-abort me?
no,
All right.
no,
Thank you.
no. I still want you, but
No,
a
no.
few,
A
a
few
few
years
years
late.
late. That's all.
No, I got it. What
I
do you
wouldn't change any of that.
What do you think the 18-year-old version of you would think of the 60s?
66-year-old me.
Yeah.
I think she'd be surprised because I was very quiet and introverted, and I didn't, I remember them at school, high school, telling my mother she's going to be nothing but a secretary.
Oh, really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
ran and you were the boss
And
for
I was the boss.
a long time. When did you come out of your shell, Mom? When did that happen for you?
I think the hotel business did that.
Right.
Being in the hotel business and around people and moving up, and
Realizing that you could be the
that I
boss.
could be the boss, yeah.
Who instilled the first like confidence in you? Who did you feel?
Believe it or not, Rick Scheidler.
No, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That he felt that you could run something.
Yeah, I mean, he was another one. He was always there. He was good for advice.
Right.
And it was funny. And I'll never forget
At
this. He would,
one of your first
one of
bosses.
my first bosses.
Yeah.
And when we had like really crazy weeks and stuff, and he would turn around and say, "Okay, Deb, it's time for you to take a Debbie day."
Right.
And he'd give me a day off with pay, and there was never any question about it.
Yeah.
And he did that for pretty much all his
All his like managers.
managers. Yeah, he was always good like that with all his managers.
Do you have any advice for young bosses, people that are starting out in the management roles?
Yeah, don't go in and just think you're going to take everything over, and you're going to just clean house, and I'm going to do. You have to do it my way or the highway, and
Yeah.
just sit back, listen, watch what you have. Most of the times, what's there is going to work.
Right.
And it's a lot easier to work with what you have than to have to start all over.
Yeah.
There's too many of them out there that just come in and they come in like a bulldozer.
Right.
I always come in, I sit back, I watch.
Yeah. And work with what you got and change where you need to change.
Changes slowly.
Yeah.
Time, and before you know it, they don't even realize what's happened.
Yeah. How about young workers? You have any advice for these young kids out here?
Please just come in and do your job and stop complaining.
Yeah.
And especially the hotel level.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd come in, I'm so tired. I'll never forget, there was a day, this is during COVID, where I've got a, my maintenance guy / houseman in his mid-20s calls me up. I just can't come in today. I just can't. It's just too much. I'm running around like a freaking maniac.
Yeah, in your 60s.
I'm in my 60s, running circles around these 20, 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. And also, I'm just so tired.
Yeah.
And I said, you don't know what tired is.
Yeah.
You really don't know what tired is.
How about, do you have a best piece of advice you ever got you can think of? Or just some good advice that you use?
Treat people like you want to be treated.
Right. Yeah, it's good advice. I mean, it's simple, but people don't always abide by it, right?
Just treat people the way you want to be treated. I'm sure somebody gave you that advice at some point.
How about a worst advice you ever got that you followed or you listened to? Anything? Get married. Get married.
Get married, yeah. I mean, my mother did try to stop me from that,
Yeah.
It's like I said, that was one piece of advice my mother gave me. That was a good piece of advice, is hold off and wait.
Yeah.
But she didn't mean to wait until the minute you got out of high school to get
Right. Yeah, she meant a little bit longer.
She meant a little bit longer.
How about the person that was most impactful to you?
I think it might have been Shadley.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, especially in the business world.
Because he gave you a
You-
pass,
Yes. Yeah, it gave me somewhere to go.
right? Something to look forward to, something to
Mhm.
accomplish.
And let me believe that I could do it.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, he was the one that talked me into being a director of sales so that I could move into a GM job.
right,
If it wasn't for that, who knows if I'd have ever done
right. All right. How about some embarrassing stories, Deb?
it.
A drunk story. We're going to talk about my 21st birthday.
Your 21st birthday is the biggest one.
Yeah. How that might end, Deb? You got.
So I'm drinking tequila
Mm-hmm.
and I'm drinking Cuervo.
Uh-huh.
And then I turn around, we run out of the Cuervo
Yeah.
and they start feeding me the cheapy stuff.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's why. It was because it was the cheapy stuff. It wasn't because you drank a gallon of
I
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we're heading home
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sick.
Oh, yeah.
I am so sick. Side of the road, throwing up all over the place.
Yeah.
Get home,
Right.
and your father had to throw me into the
The bathtub.
bathtub
Mm-hmm.
because it just came out from both ends.
Both ends. So you shit and threw up
Yes.
all over
it
yourself.
was.
Were you crying? You were
Yes,
crying.
I was crying. Your father throws me in the shower,
Uh-huh.
cleans me all up,
Uh-huh.
gets me into bed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
And the real nice thing is he didn't tell anybody about it
Of course,
or everybody.
everybody. It was one thing your father couldn't wait to tell everybody.
That's funny. You have a. How many times do you think in your life you have peed yourself?
Oh, all the time. I would, I would, when I was working in Voorhees,
Yeah.
I would make sure I peed before I walked out the door.
Yeah.
By the time I got home, and I was living on Orkney Street,
Yeah.
and I finally found a parking spot.
Uh-huh.
As I'm walking up the street,
Yeah.
I am peeing myself. I couldn't even make it to the door.
Oh God, Deb, you peed yourself so many times.
I
I have seen that dance 1,000 times, and I don't think that's exaggerating.
No,
I mean, I'm not saying you peed yourself 1,000 times. I've definitely have seen the pee pee dance a
the
thousand
PB, yeah. I'm always doing the PB dance. The boys kid me about it. John kids me about it. Okay, but especially when John and Nicholas are together,
times. Yeah.
they're like, "Okay, here's my mom with the PB dance again."
How about a time other than my 21st birthday where you shit yourself? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, a few times.
Jesus Christ, you can't control yourself.
I can't.
You're almost like a dude. That's amazing.
So you want to hear the one story?
I do. I do.
The best one is at work.
Hmm.
Doing sales calls.
Yes.
I leave the place. Now I decided to walk down the road in Voorhees
Right.
to do my sales call at the end of the road.
Okay.
I'm walking back. I have a meeting with Shively and my GM.
Yeah.
I'm the director of sales.
So the regional manager and the GM.
And
Yeah.
the GM. And I'm coming back,
Uh-huh.
and all of a sudden my stomach starts rumbling.
Gurgling.
I barely make it to the hotel, and it just starts.
Dumping.
I'm in the bathroom, and I'm crying, and I'm washing my underwear out in the sink.
So you kept the underwear?
Now I had to throw them away.
Oh yeah, you throw it away. Did you
So
clean yourself up with the underwear?
I cleaned myself all up. Well, I was in the bathroom,
Okay.
so I cleaned myself all up,
Yeah.
and I go into my meeting,
Uh-huh.
and I just couldn't wait to get out of there and go home.
Did you still stink?
No, I didn't. I freshened myself up nice.
Good job. Yeah, you definitely use the underwear and you throw them out. That's what
Yeah.
you got to do.
You hide them in the
Wastebasket.
wastebasket underneath all the
Yeah.
paper towels.
That's the right answer
Yeah.
for that. Yeah. Any other time you puked all over the place?
Uh,
Any other pukey stories where?
oh, I made spaghetti and clams. You'll love this one. When I was dating Joe,
Uh-huh.
I made a spaghetti and clams.
Yeah.
We both got food poisoning.
Really?
Yes.
What? No, I don't think you did either. Yeah.
Food poisoning. Both one's in the sink and one's in the toilet and in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And just, oh my God, it was horrible.
So I'm just going to give this Joe story real quick. So my mother's dating this large man who's very tall, and He was a nice guy, but he was horrendous at joking.
Yes.
And he used to make like sex jokes about my mother in front of my kids or my one son, I guess. No, my kids, and also in front of my dad's family. And that was getting old really quickly.
Yeah, so it didn't last too long.
So we're driving to baseball because my mommy came to my baseball games most of my adult life, and I said, Mom, if you're happy, I'm happy for you. But Joe needs to stop with the shit because if he doesn't, I'm going to kill him.
And at that point, I was already starting to distance myself from
Yeah,
him.
yeah, you did.
I was starting to date other people.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think that's around when I met John.
Right around a little bit after
A
that, I
little bit.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, John.
All right. How about time you got caught having sex ever?
I don't think I ever got caught. I know I was heard,
Yeah, it was
but I
definitely.
didn't. I never got caught.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I've told this story on this podcast, but I used to hear my mother
Yes.
and my father uh, often enough that it's seared in my mind. And they had an old bed that would squeak very loudly, and she would moan, and he would grunt, and I would hear the whole fucking thing. The whole fucking thing, Deb.
Never knew that.
No, you didn't know it.
Until later.
Until later. All right, 20 questions. We're at that point. You ready?
Okay.
It is the Angry Dave podcast, your little angry son. What makes you angry?
It makes me angry. Few things make me angry these days.
What's that?
You know what makes me angry?
What makes you angry?
It makes me angry. You're at work
Yeah,
and everybody, it's like the stupidest reasons to call out and not be there or not show up.
yeah.
Or I get like insanely crazy,
Pissed off about it
pissed off. Yeah,
when you know it's bullshit.
yeah,
Bullshit.
yeah.
You remember when my father used to make you call out for him?
Oh God, yeah.
How did that make you feel?
That's another. I mean, when you get people that have somebody else call out for you, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, are you dead? Yeah,
Pick up the goddamn phone.
right. What makes you happy?
Being being with family and going and doing things and traveling. Actually,
Yeah,
I've done more traveling since your father passed away than we did our entire life.
yeah.
But no, just being with you guys and doing things and
Being adventurous.
being adventurous, yeah, doing different things.
What are you most proud of?
I think the way you and Teresa turned out. I was a little worried about Teresa for a long time,
Yeah, she's
but
doing good.
she's doing good.
Yeah,
I'm really happy.
she's got great kids.
She does. I have two beautiful granddaughters.
Yeah, that makes me most proud of her.
Yeah,
Just
she did a wonderful job with those girls. She really did.
yeah.
Her and Carl. I know I get pissy at him sometimes, but
No, he's a good
he's a
dude.
good guy.
He is,
He's done a really good job with the girls.
and he loves your daughter.
Yes, he does. Like your
Like
father loved me.
yeah, like a puppy dog.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's adorable, really. If you could have done anything in your life professionally other than be a, GM at a hotel, what would you have liked to be?
I always said I wanted to be an accountant for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, I was like working with numbers
And the quiet of it
and yes.
and the exactness of it.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
I like being able to go into work, turn the radio on, and just
Get lost.
get lost in all my numbers and yeah.
If you could change one thing about your life, what would it have been?
Probably been a little bit harder on your father.
Yeah,
So that things would have been different. Because we could have done so much.
yeah. You think early on?
I should have done it all. I I let I I let him get away. It was my fault too, not only his.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
it's a lot of
I let him do it. I put my foot down. Enough.
enough.
I waited too long to do it.
I think, and I don't blame you. I'm not blaming you, but I think that that's probably right. And I think that when you think about that time where you losing the house and you're going to leave him, right?
Yeah,
If you gave him that ultimatum at that time,
it could have changed things.
I think it might have, because when you gave him the ultimatum later,
It did.
it did, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I turned around and said, "Look, either you come with me or you don't," but
Right,
I'm buying the house,
right,
and I did it on my own
right,
because they actually told me it was better not to put him on it
right,
because of his work history.
right. Yeah, because he hadn't, he hadn't been. Right.
But yeah, I mean, me and my mother went and bought the house.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
I said everybody be nicer to people. I'm so tired of people being so mean and nasty. I was at a wine fest this
Yeah,
past weekend. One of the girls that was with us is on a cane. She had her foot operated on. She's got a big boot and she's got a cane, and it's tight getting through.
right.
These two girls are pushing her
Yeah,
out of the way because they're in a hurry to get somewhere.
right,
Where? You're in a park.
right. Yeah, just a lack of
Lack of
consideration.
consideration. They could have knocked her over.
Yeah,
And I was just like, I don't understand it. Why is everybody so mean and nasty anymore?
yeah. I don't know if it's anymore. I just people are just self-absorbed. They don't see anything outside of themselves. They're just worried about what's happening in their own head. That they don't care to see the world around them. I think that's prevalent today. I don't know if it was any less prevalent before, but it certainly
I guess
happens.
it's more. It just seems to you see it more.
You see it more, right?
You notice it more today than you did before.
Yeah. Well, everything's out there too in the world, right?
Well,
Everything's
that's true.
everything's out there to see. What's most important to you?
My family.
How about the most unreasonable thing about you?
I'm too good-hearted and too nice.
Talk to me about that. What does that mean to you?
I think I think there was a lot of years where I've just let people walk all over me.
Yeah. And that you try to make things
I always try to make things right and perfect, and
just
oh
make everybody happy
yeah,
or not sad.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's going, you know, like your sister and your aunt. I'm always trying to make that
Situation
situation
better.
better, and it just
Yeah, it's not up to you.
I gotta stop.
Everybody's an adult. Everybody has to live their own
Yeah,
life.
it's like enough is enough. I need to
Yeah.
stop trying to make
Uh,
everybody happy.
what's your everyday struggle? What do you struggle with on an everyday basis?
Hmm.
Like a simple thing I think of, like whatever, my struggle with food and particularly cured meats.
I guess my weight right now.
Yeah,
I mean, growing up, I couldn't gain weight,
right.
and now it's like no matter what I do, I can't seem to lose it.
Yeah,
I could starve myself and still not lose weight.
yeah,
So I think my struggle is my weight right now, and I'm trying to work through that, figure it out.
yeah. What is your best quality?
Um, I'm loyal to a fault
Yeah,
to anybody, to everybody.
yeah.
I'll drop anything for everybody.
Yes,
Like
you will.
a phone call, and
Right.
here I am.
Yeah, somebody needs you. Sometimes you think you have to be the first one there, the last one to leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what type of music do you hate?
I hate
Really?
words and and and
Go ahead.
banging head
Heavy metal.
heavy metal.
All right, it's fine. I
That's
think
more than rap.
no, you're just trying to placate me. That's all right. Don't placate me, Deb. How about a music? What's your favorite type of music?
Actually, I like
Yeah,
the old stuff. There, I listen to a lot of Beatles,
yeah,
the Queen these days,
like classic rock.
classic rock. Yeah.
Um, If you could meet anyone in history, dead or alive, who would that be? That could be either a famous person or somebody in your life.
Well, he looks like your grandfather.
Oh,
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott, huh? Really?
Yes.
What's, would you have like kind of like a man crush on him, like a little crush
I
on
have
him?
a crush on him, yeah.
Interesting. How about anybody like from your past that you would want to talk to again? Anybody?
I would love to talk to my grandmother again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was a big part of your early life. Huh?
very big part of my life.
Yeah,
Well, as I said, there were times where, thank God for her,
right.
she kept us together. She kept the family together.
Yeah, she worked until she was
She
pretty
worked
old,
until she was 72, 73,
73, right?
73.
If you were to sing karaoke, do you have a song that you would go to, or would you ever sing karaoke?
I probably would never sing karaoke because I really have a bad singing voice. But yesterday
By the
by
Beatles.
the Beatles.
If you were arrested, what would we think? What would your friends and family think?
Probably speeded.
Just speed? Well, no, you
No,
nobody.
no,
Well, how
no,
fast are you going? You go 120 miles an hour?
no. I do 80,
Okay, you're not getting arrested for speeding.
85.
Something you could get
Get
arrested for.
arrested for?
Would you lose your temper?
Yeah, yeah. I can lose my temper. I could.
Could you shit in public? Shit. Indecent exposure?
No, lose my temper. I can get when I get annoyed. I do start to. You have a little bit of me in you.
What's the favorite place you've ever been?
Aruga.
You like Aruba?
I love Aruga.
What's it?
He's number two.
What's the best about Aruba? What do you like most about that?
Um, it's so nice, and the temperature's always the same.
Yeah,
The beaches are beautiful. The water is so clear,
paint.
quaint. You walk on the beach no matter what time of day it is, and it's not hot.
Right.
It's that real nice,
Yeah.
but it's just so nice and quiet and quaint, and everybody's just very, everybody's happy there.
Right. Yeah, it's a happy place.
Happy place. There's no, you know,
What's your favorite curse word?
talk.
What's your favorite sound? Do you have a favorite sound?
I think babies laughing.
Really?
Yeah, I watch a lot of that on the videos.
What is your least favorite sound?
Oh, I can't say farting. Um,
I mean, you can say.
I can say farting, but sometimes that feels good. Probably baby crying.
Yeah. How about when it's all said and done, what do you want to be remembered for?
I was a good mother and a good wife, a good person.
Yeah. Well, you were all three of those up until, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years, but so far, you're doing all right. I mean, you tried your best.
I did.
You did your best. You're a good mother. I love you very much.
I always worry about that.
I wouldn't trade you for anything. I really would. I love you. I know that you love me more than you love yourself.
I do.
I know that. And what else as a son could you ask? I know you would do anything for me. I know you would do anything for my kids. I know, any problems I ever had with you, it's not you, it's our situation that we were in, right?
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
tough situation. You were a kid.
Yeah.
You were a kid having kids, and that spot that's what happens when that happens. I don't want to trade my life for it, though. You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
wouldn't trade this because then I wouldn't have what I have now.
Right. I mean, I think about that as the butterfly effect, right? As they talk about that as you change that one thing, and then maybe everything changes. So I'm perfectly happy where I am. I love our relationship. Um, I don't know that, again, you being a young mother and the way we grew up together,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
I don't know that a lot of adults have the relationship that I have with you or even have the time to do it, right? Because we're still so young.
Yeah.
So
And I'm still in pretty good health. You got me for a little while
yeah,
longer.
yeah, 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 yeah. You got to move around a little bit more. Deb, we'll move around.
I
Don't
know. I do get in my my moods where I just don't want to move
You
and
don't want
want
to
to
move.
do anything, and I just kind of lay around. And
Yeah, yeah. So just, I worry about, that's what I worry about for you is that's why I always tell you that I want you to stop working, not necessarily 5 days a week, but always have something to look forward to. Because that's, you are a mover by nature.
yeah, I could. I mean, I like I said, I haven't worked twice in my life. The one time
Yeah,
after your father passed away, and then during COVID, I took those 6 months off, and I couldn't wait to get back to work. I was
right.
ready.
But you don't, yeah, you don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do with myself.
You're
I
not a
had to
still
clean
person.
so much, and
Right. And I think that that's true just with anybody. It's like once you don't have a purpose in life, then, it's easy. People die. I mean,
I watched 80-year-olds,
right,
and then they start taking things away from her. You can't drive anymore. You
right.
can't do this. You can't do that. And next thing you know,
It sucks a lot.
she sucked the life out of her.
Right. Yeah,
And you remember how she was a smoker of all smokers, and
right. But she didn't stop moving,
she
right?
never stopped moving. And the minute they stopped her from doing things,
Yeah,
she just withered away.
yeah.
And it was a shame.
All right. You have any questions for me, Deb?
Um,
What do you want to know? What are you annoyed about that I say on this podcast? Do I do you feel that I'm unfair?
no.
All
Mm-mm.
right. I worry about that. Sometimes I feel like I'm shitting on you and my father, and I don't mean to do that. That I just want to talk.
That you think I wasn't a good mother.
Yeah.
I guess that's just something
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you're a good mother. I think you tried the best that you could, given what you had. You listen. We didn't starve. I'm here today. I'm fairly successful. I have a good relationship with my wife and my kids. You had something to do with that,
okay. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't get to be who I am without you. So don't underestimate that. Again, I don't say the things that I say on this podcast or to other people about our life to shit on you.
Oh no, I don't think you did.
But I mean, I do, I think you would acknowledge that you were working, and again, like you talked about it today, right? You were working so hard and worrying about basic needs that there's things that I can provide to my kids that you couldn't do because you didn't have the time or the resources to do that,
True.
right?
And that's what I'm most proud of is that you've
Right,
done so. I guess I'm proud of myself that you've come so far.
right. But
And
that's right, the cycle, right? This we're trying to we're breaking the cycle, and you're still, and again, you're still part of that, right? You are 1,000 times better grandmother than your mother. And again, I'm not shitting on your mother, but again, as her as a grandmother to me, she was still a mother. She
right,
didn't have the time to be that,
right.
or the energy
The energy.
to be that, right? Right. And again, like, and my dad's mother, the person I was probably closest to growing up, she was a lovely human being and gave a lot. But you show love to my kids, but you also show them a different, you're not just stuck at home and being that one thing, right? So you show them that you can be a successful woman and that you can have your own life and do things and still have time for your grandkids, right?
Right. Yeah. Are
Uh,
you good with John?
Me, you and John, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with you and John. Yeah, yeah. If there's anything that I ever want, and I'll say to John too, is I don't want you guys to do him to do things because he thinks that he's supposed to be doing them, right? So like if he doesn't want to be on the beach, down the shore, or at the house, don't do whatever you want to do. That's the only concern I have is sometimes I feel like he's not happy, hanging out at the house or something like that,
No, he likes coming
or
down.
if or maybe he feels uncomfortable. I don't know. There's every once in a while I get a little bit that he's a little uncomfortable, but that no, I don't care about it. I want you to be happy, Mom. Whatever makes you happy, I'm happy. He's nothing but nice to my kids. He's nothing but nice to me. We never had a crossword. and
No, you used to have good conversations, don't
yeah,
you?
yeah. I mean, he's a nice guy. And what I think about him isn't really that important. I mean, and you know me well enough that I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you will. You'll
I,
let me know if there's anything.
I mean, I have no problem with that. And I learned from our family, particularly your mother, but my father's mother too, and my both families about secrets. So I don't do secrets. Like if I feel something and I want to say something, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to try to be nice about it and try to let you know that it's coming from a good place. But I'm not leaving things unsaid. It doesn't help
No, it
anything.
doesn't. I've seen too much with secrets.
Right. I mean,
How it destroys
or
families.
or just even emotionally, like when you leave things unsaid and then people start to make their own reality up. And we've seen it a million times about fights that family members have had that actually they never even had the fight.
Right.
They think that somebody thinks that somebody's mad at them, then that other person is mad because they think that the other person's mad.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talks, and then it's 10 years
Yeah.
and or whatever, it's 6 months or 6 years, whatever it is, and then people get there's animosity, and you don't even know where it fucking came from.
You don't even know where it started from.
Right. So that doesn't. I'm not doing that. I'm not. I'm teaching my kids not to do that, and
I'm just trying to stay away from negativity.
that's
I'm
all.
tired of the negative. I don't want to be around negative people anymore.
The big point for me in my life was the 2000 when we had the big blow up at the house with the at the New Year's party.
Yeah,
When I was trying to be you, and
I know.
I was trying to bring everybody together and make everybody happy and do everything for to make, and it all blew up in my face. And at that point I said, and it didn't happen overnight, but I'm just not, like, I want you to be everybody to be a part of my life. I love you all, but if you're going to bring some fucking drama, then you're out. That's it. And when you're ready not to bring the drama, come back. I'm
Yeah,
happy to see
yeah,
it. It doesn't mean I don't love you, but I'm not dealing with your nonsense.
yeah. And I'm dealing with that right now.
Yeah,
I basically stopped
yeah.
talking to someone because of I can't take the negativity and the drama
And the
anymore.
drama, yeah. I mean, and again, I love you. That
Oh, I do. Yeah,
doesn't make me not care for you or want the best for you. But I'm not doing it. I do. We don't. We only exist for a very small time in this universe. So,
so guess where I'm going next year?
where are you going?
I'm going to cruise through Alaska.
Are you?
Yep.
Good for you. Good for
We're
you. Are you? Good. Are you going to get off? Like, are you going to stop like in Juneau or something?
I don't know. We're all Glenn and Adrian
Yeah.
are coming with us, so
Cool.
we're gonna get together and finish talking about it, set it off.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's our next trip. So that's basically I want to travel. I want to do things.
All
I don't
right.
want to have to worry about where money's coming from.
Yeah.
It's nice to finally be in a place where I have a savings account.
Yeah.
I have a 401k,
Right.
and
You're getting your Social
I
Security.
get my Social Security. And if I want to do something, I can.
Right.
If I want to take the boys somewhere, and
Whatever. Yeah. Just
whatever, I don't have to worry about.
yeah. Go out to dinner.
Go out to dinner. We go out to dinner. We
Yeah.
go places. We do things. We'll turn around and say, I have a. I mean, for the first time in my life, I have a season ticket plan with the Phillies.
Yeah. Right. It's nice, right?
Who would have ever thought?
Yeah. Are you going to go to your first playoff game? Huh?
I am going to go to my first playoff game.
All right. With that, so maybe I'll get you back on the podcast when you come back from your Alaska trip, if I'm still doing this thing.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I love it. I love you.
Love you too.
All right. Till next time, I'm out. Peace. Say bye.
Bye.